Dr. Hyun-woo Park pressed his face against the cold glass of the observation window. His breath made small clouds on the surface as he stared at the twisted metal floating in the darkness of space. The wreckage looked nothing like any ship he had ever seen before. The research vessel Harmony's Edge had been traveling through the Kepler 442 system for 3 weeks. Their mission was simple: study new planets and look for signs of alien life. What they found instead was this strange wreckage drifting alone between 2 dead moons. "What do you think it is?" asked Kim Dae-hee, his research assistant. She stood beside him holding a cup of hot coffee that smelled like artificial vanilla. "I have no idea," Hyun-woo replied honestly. "The metal looks organic somehow, like it grew instead of being built." Captain Lee Soo-jin's voice came through the communication system. "Dr. Park, please report to the docking bay. We are bringing in samples from the wreckage." Hyun-woo nodded to Da-hai and headed down the corridor. The Harmony's Edge was not a large ship, but it was home to 43 crew members and scientists. Most of them were excited about this discovery. It was the first alien technology they had ever found. The docking bay was busy with activity. Engineers in white suits were carefully moving pieces of the strange metal onto examination tables. The material had an odd purple color that seemed to shift and change as the light hit it from different angles. "Be very careful with that piece," Hyun-woo told one of the engineers. "We do not know what it might do." Chief Engineer Park Sun-mi walked over to him. "The metal is unlike anything in our databases. It is warm to the touch even though it has been in the cold of space for who knows how long." Hyun-woo picked up his scanner and began taking readings. The device beeped softly as it collected data. The results made him frown. "This is strange. The scanner shows the metal has organic compounds mixed with synthetic materials, almost like someone tried to build a machine using living tissue." As he moved around the examination table, something caught his eye. In the corner of the docking bay, 3 engineers were standing around a small container. They were speaking in hushed voices and pointing at whatever was inside. "What did you find over there?" Hyun-woo called out. One of the engineers, a young man named Jang Min-ho, looked up nervously. "Sir, you should probably see this for yourself." Hyun-woo walked over to the container. Inside were 3 small creatures that looked like baby dragons from old Earth stories. They were about the size of house cats with scales that shimmered between deep purple and gold. Their eyes were large and dark, filled with what looked like fear and confusion. "They were inside a sealed chamber in the wreckage," Min-ho explained. "The chamber had its own life support system, but it was failing when we found them." The creatures huddled together in the bottom of the container. They made soft chirping sounds like birds, but deeper and more musical. One of them, slightly larger than the others, looked directly at Hyun-woo. Its eyes seemed almost human in their intelligence. "They look sick," Da-hai said quietly. She had followed him from the observation deck. "And hungry." Hyun-woo knelt down beside the container. The creatures did not try to run away or attack. Instead, they watched him with curious eyes. The largest one made a soft trilling sound and moved slightly closer to the edge of the container. "Sir, what should we do with them?" asked Min-ho. "Protocol says we should put them in quarantine and begin immediate testing." Hyun-woo looked at the 3 small beings. They were clearly intelligent and definitely afraid. The idea of locking them up in a cold laboratory made his stomach turn. He had always believed that first contact with alien life should be handled with care and respect, not fear and suspicion. "Take them to Laboratory 7, he said finally. "I will handle their care personally." Captain Soo-jin appeared beside him. "Doctor, are you sure that is wise? We know nothing about these creatures. They could be dangerous." "Look at them, Captain," Hyun-woo replied. "They are babies. Scared babies who have just lost everything they knew. The least we can do is make sure they are comfortable while we study them." The captain looked into the container and her expression softened slightly. "Very well, but I want daily reports on their condition and behavior. And doctor, be very careful. We still do not know where they came from or why their ship crashed." Laboratory 7 was one of the smaller research rooms on the ship. It had basic life support systems and could be sealed if necessary. Hyun-woo had the engineers install a larger habitat area with soft bedding material and proper lighting. When the creatures were moved to their new home, they immediately explored every corner of the space. They moved with fluid grace, their small claws making soft clicking sounds on the metal floor. The largest one, which Hyun-woo decided to call Flame because of its golden scales, seemed to be the leader of the group. The second creature, with more purple in its scales, he named Spark. It was the most curious of the 3. always investigating new objects and sounds. The smallest, which he called Bit, stayed close to the other two and made the softest chirping sounds. "I wonder what you eat," Hyun-woo said aloud as he watched them settle into their new home. As if in response, all three creatures turned to look at him. Flame chirped once, a sound that seemed almost like a question. Then it moved to the food dispenser and touched it with one small claw. "You understand me, do not you?" Hyun-woo asked, amazed. Flame tilted its head and made the trilling sound again. There was definitely intelligence in those dark eyes. Hyun-woo spent the next hour running tests on different food compounds. The creatures showed interest in protein-based mixtures but refused anything with plant matter. They seemed to prefer foods that were warm and had a smooth texture. As the ship's artificial night cycle began, the three dragons huddled together in the soft bedding. Flame kept one eye open, watching Hyun-woo as he made notes on his computer. "Do not worry," Hyun-woo said softly. "I will take good care of you." Flame made a soft, contented sound and finally closed its eyes. For the first time since finding the wreckage, Hyun-woo felt hopeful. Maybe this discovery would be the peaceful first contact that humanity had always dreamed of. Maybe these beautiful creatures would be the key to understanding the universe better. He had no idea how wrong he was. 3 weeks had passed since Hyun-woo first found the young dragons. Every morning he would wake up early and visit Laboratory 7 before starting his other duties. The creatures had grown noticeably larger, now about the size of medium dogs. Their scales had become more vibrant, shifting colors like living rainbows. "Good morning, friends," Hyun-woo said as he entered the lab. The three dragons immediately perked up at the sound of his voice. Flame, the largest one, approached the barrier and made soft trilling sounds that almost sounded like words. Hyun-woo had learned to recognize their different sounds. Short chirps meant they were happy. Longer trills meant they wanted attention. Deep rumbling sounds meant they were hungry or upset. They seemed to understand human emotions too. When Hyun-woo felt tired or worried, they would gather near him and make gentle, comforting noises. "Time for breakfast," he announced, preparing their morning meal. The dragons had specific dietary needs that required him to mix special proteins with synthetic nutrients. They refused to eat anything that was not prepared fresh and warm. As he worked, Hyun-woo noticed something new. Spark, the purple-scaled dragon, was watching his hands very carefully. When he reached for the protein mixer, Spark made a specific chirping sound. When he added the nutrients, Spark made a different sound. It was as if the creature was learning the preparation process. "Are you trying to help me cook?" Hyun-woo asked with a smile. Spark tilted its head and made what sounded almost like a laugh. Then it walked over to where Hyun-woo kept the feeding bowls and gently pushed one toward him with its snout. "Very smart," Hyun-woo said, impressed. "You are all much smarter than I first thought." The dragons had developed distinct personalities over the weeks. Flame was the leader and protector, always positioning itself between the others and any perceived threat. Spark was the curious explorer, investigating every new object or sound in the laboratory. Bit, the smallest, was the gentle one who seemed to sense emotions and tried to comfort anyone who appeared sad or stressed. As they ate their breakfast, Hyun-woo reviewed his daily reports. Captain Soo-jin required detailed logs of everything the dragons did, ate, and how they behaved. So far, his reports had been positive. The creatures showed no signs of aggression, disease, or dangerous behavior. However, Hyun-woo had started to leave out certain details. He did not mention how the dragons seemed to anticipate his arrival before he entered the room. He did not write about the way they appeared to communicate with each other through subtle body movements that looked almost like sign language. Most importantly, he did not report that they had begun to show signs of understanding human speech beyond simple commands. The laboratory door chimed, and Da-hai entered carrying her morning coffee and a data pad. "How are our guests today?" she asked, approaching the habitat area. All three dragons turned toward her and made welcoming chirps. Bit, the smallest one, actually walked over to the barrier closest to Da-hai and pressed its small snout against the transparent material. "They remember me," Da-hai said, delighted. "Look how Bit is trying to get closer." "They remember everyone who has been kind to them," Hyun-woo explained. "But they are still nervous around the security officers and some of the engineers." Da-hai sat down near the habitat and began reviewing her data pad. "The analysis of their original ship is almost complete. Chief Engineer Sun-mi says the technology is unlike anything we have ever seen. The metal seems to be part organic, part synthetic. It might have been grown rather than built. As she spoke, all 3 dragons moved closer to listen, their dark eyes focused intently on her face as if they were trying to understand every word. "Do you think they understand what we are saying?" Dahai asked quietly. "I am beginning to think they understand more than we realize," Hyunwoo admitted. Flame suddenly stood up and walked to the far corner of the habitat. It began scratching at the wall with its claws, making deliberate marks in a pattern. The scratches formed shapes that looked almost like symbols or letters. "What is it doing?" Dahai whispered. Hyunwoo stood up for a better look. The scratches definitely formed a pattern, but he could not recognize what it might mean. "I think it is trying to communicate something to us." Spark and Bit joined Flame at the wall. Together they began creating more scratches, working as a team to form what looked like a complex diagram. When they finished, all 3 stepped back and looked at the humans expectantly. "It looks like some kind of star map," Dahai said, studying the pattern. "See how the scratches form connected points? Like stars and travel routes." Hyunwoo took pictures of the scratches with his scanner. "I will analyze these later. For now, let us see if they want to show us anything else." The dragons seemed pleased that the humans were paying attention to their message. Flame approached the barrier again and made a series of different sounds, each one distinct and purposeful. It was clearly trying to tell them something important. Over the next few hours, the dragons continued their attempts at communication. They would create new scratch patterns, make specific sound combinations, and use body language that seemed designed to convey meaning. Hyunwoo began to realize that these creatures were not just intelligent animals. They were beings with complex thoughts, emotions, and possibly their own language. During his lunch break, Hyunwoo met with Captain Soo-jin in her office. "How are the creatures progressing?" she asked, reviewing his morning reports. "Very well, Captain. They are healthy, growing properly, and showing remarkable intelligence." "Intelligence how?" Hyunwoo chose his words carefully. "They seem to learn routines quickly. They recognize individual crew members. They show problem-solving abilities." Captain Soo-jin nodded. "Good. The Federation Science Council is very interested in our discovery. They want a full report within the month." "Of course, Captain." As Hyunwoo left the captain's office, he felt a growing sense of unease. The Federation Science Council would want to study the dragons in ways that might not be gentle or kind. They would want to run tests, take samples, and possibly separate the creatures from each other. When he returned to Laboratory 7, the dragons seemed to sense his troubled mood. All 3 gathered near the barrier and made soft, comforting sounds. Bit pressed its small body against the transparent wall, as close to Hyunwoo as it could get. "I will not let anyone hurt you," he whispered to them. Flame looked directly into his eyes and made a sound that was almost like a purr. For a moment, Hyunwoo could have sworn he saw understanding and gratitude in the creature's dark gaze. That night, as the ship entered its artificial sleep cycle, Hyunwoo remained in the laboratory longer than usual. He watched the dragons curl up together in their soft bedding, protecting each other even in sleep. Something was changing aboard the Harmony's edge. The dragons were growing not just in size, but in intelligence and emotional complexity, and Hyunwoo was beginning to realize that keeping them secret was becoming more difficult with each passing day. As he finally prepared to leave, Flame opened one eye and looked at him. The dragon made a soft sound that somehow conveyed both affection and warning. Hyunwoo had no idea what dangers lay ahead, but he knew one thing for certain. He would do whatever it took to protect these remarkable beings. Captain Lee Soo-jin stood outside Laboratory 7, watching through the security monitor. On the screen, she could see Dr. Hyunwoo Park sitting inside the habitat, with 3 creatures that were now the size of large horses. This was not what his reports had described. "Computer, show me the supply requisitions for Laboratory 7 over the past month," she commanded. The data appeared on her screen immediately. Food supplies, bedding materials, and habitat expansion equipment, all requested by Dr. Park, all approved without question because everyone trusted his research. "Computer, show me Dr. Park's original estimate of the creature's adult size." More data appeared. According to his first report, the dragons should have remained small, possibly growing to the size of large dogs at most. What she was seeing now was very different. The captain touched her communication device. "Security Chief Oh Tae-yang, please report to Laboratory 7 immediately." Inside the laboratory, Hyunwoo was unaware that he was being watched. The dragons had grown much faster than he had expected. and he was running out of ways to explain their increasing size to the crew. More importantly, they were showing new abilities that he had never seen before. "Show me again," Hyunwoo said to Flame. The largest dragon focused on a small metal tool that was sitting on a nearby table. The tool began to glow with a soft blue light, then slowly lifted into the air and floated toward Flame's outstretched claw. "Incredible," Hyunwoo whispered. "How are you doing that?" Flame made a series of complex trilling sounds, almost like it was trying to explain. Spark and Bit joined in, their voices harmonizing in a way that created strange echoes in the room. As they sang together, all the electronic equipment in the laboratory began to hum softly. "Are you affecting the ship's systems?" Hyunwoo asked, concerned. The dragons immediately stopped their song and the humming ceased. All three looked at him with what appeared to be guilt in their large eyes. "It is okay," Hyunwoo said quickly. "I am not angry. I just need to understand what is happening." The laboratory door opened and Security Chief Oh Tae-yang entered with 2 guards. The dragons immediately moved into a protective formation around Hyunwoo, their scales darkening to a deep purple that almost looked black. "Dr. Park," Chief Oh said carefully, "the captain would like to speak with you. Please step away from the creatures." "They are not dangerous," Hyunwoo said, placing his hands on Flame's neck. "They are just protective of me because I have cared for them. Sir, those creatures are much larger than your reports indicated. We need to reassess the security situation." Flame growled low in its throat, a sound that vibrated through the floor. The other 2 dragons flanked it, their eyes beginning to glow with an inner light that had never appeared before. "Everyone stay calm," Hyunwoo said, feeling the tension in the room. "They can sense fear and aggression. If you remain peaceful, they will not harm anyone." Chief O kept his hand near his weapon but did not draw it. "Dr. Park, please explain why these creatures are so much larger than you reported." "They grew faster than I expected. That is all. Many species have growth spurts when they are well fed and cared for. And can many species make tools float in the air?" Hyunwoo felt his heart sink. They had been watching. "I can explain that, I'm sure you can. But first you need to come with us for questioning." As Chief O spoke, all the lights in the laboratory began to flicker. The computer screens showed random patterns of numbers and symbols. The dragons were making no sound, but their eyes glowed brighter with each passing second. "Stop," Hyunwoo said to the dragons. "You are scaring them." Immediately, the lights stopped flickering and the computer screens returned to normal. The dragons' eyes dimmed, but they remained in their protective positions. "How did you do that?" one of the guards whispered. "I did not do anything," Hyunwoo replied honestly. "They respond to my voice because they trust me." Chief O activated his communication device. "Captain, we have a situation in Laboratory 7. The creatures appear to have abilities we were not aware of." Captain Sujin's voice came through clearly. "Bring Dr. Park to my office immediately. Place the laboratory under full security lockdown." "No," Hyunwoo said firmly. "You cannot lock them up like prisoners. They have done nothing wrong. They are affecting ship systems, Dr. Park. That makes them a potential threat." Flame stepped forward and made a sound unlike anything it had made before. The sound was deep and resonant, almost like whale song but with complex harmonics that seemed to carry meaning. Spark and Bit joined in, creating a chorus that filled the entire laboratory. As they sang, images began to appear on the computer screens. Pictures of space, of stars, of worlds that no human had ever seen. The images showed vast fleets of ships traveling between galaxies, and creatures that looked similar to the dragons but much, much larger. "What are they showing us?" Chief O asked, staring at the screens. The images changed to show the dragon's original ship before it crashed. Inside the ship were dozens of the creatures, all small like Flame, Spark, and Bit had been. But in the background of these images were massive shadows. Being so large they seemed to dwarf entire planets. "I think they are trying to tell us where they came from," Hyunwoo said, studying the images carefully. The dragon's song grew louder and new images appeared. These showed the crash that had brought them to human space. But the crash had not been an accident. Something had attacked their ship, something that the images showed only as darkness and destruction. "They are refugees," Hyunwoo realized. They were running from something. The song stopped abruptly and all the screens went black. The 3 dragons huddled together, making soft, frightened sounds. "Running from what?" Chief O asked. Before anyone could answer, Navigation Officer Jang Min-ho's voice came through the communication system, urgent and frightened. "Captain, We are detecting unusual energy readings from Laboratory 7. The readings are getting stronger, and they appear to be broadcasting into space. Captain Sujin's voice was tense. Broadcasting what? Unknown, Captain. But whatever it is using frequencies we have never seen before. And Captain, long-range sensors are picking up responses. Something is out there and it is answering. Hyunwoo looked at the dragons who were now pressed against each other in obvious fear. What have you done? He whispered. Flame looked up at him with eyes that held an intelligence far beyond what any earth creature possessed. It made a soft sound that somehow conveyed both apology and terrible urgency. Dr. Park, Chief O said, his voice deadly serious, I think you need to tell us everything you know about these creatures. Right now. As if in response to his words, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. The red warning lights bathed the laboratory in an ominous glow, and the dragon's eyes began to shine brighter than ever before. Contact approaching, Minho's voice announced over the intercom. Multiple contacts. Captain, whatever these creatures called to, it is coming. Hyunwoo realized that his act of kindness, his decision to care for 3 small, helpless beings, might have doomed them all. But as he looked into Flame's glowing eyes, he saw something that gave him hope. The dragon was not just afraid, it was preparing to fight. The main meeting room of the Harmony's Edge had never felt so crowded or tense. Captain Sujin sat at the head of the table, her face grim as she studied the data streaming across multiple screens. Around her, the senior officers looked worried and confused. Report, she commanded. Navigation Officer Jang Minho cleared his throat nervously. Captain, the signals coming from Laboratory 7 have been broadcasting for approximately 6 hours. We detected them only when they became strong enough to interfere with our communication systems. What kind of signals? Mathematical sequences, Captain. Complex patterns that repeat every few minutes. Our computers cannot decode them, but they are definitely artificial. Someone or something created them. Chief Engineer Park Sunmi leaned forward. The energy readings are off the charts. Whatever is generating these signals is using more power than our entire ship produces. And the responses? Captain Sujin asked. Minho's hands shook slightly as he operated his control panel. We have detected at least 12 different sources responding to the signals. They are coming from deep space beyond our sensor range. But Captain, based on the signal strength, whatever is out there is massive. Much larger than any ship we have ever built. Security Chief Oh Tae-yang entered the room, his uniform wrinkled and his face tired. Captain, Dr. Park refuses to leave the laboratory. He says the creatures are frightened and need him there. Bring him here anyway. Use force if necessary. Captain, I tried that. When my men approached the laboratory, all the lights on the ship began flickering. The creatures somehow disabled our security cameras and locked the laboratory door from the inside. Dr. Park can leave, but we cannot get in. Captain Sujin rubbed her temples. These creatures are clearly more than simple animals. What do we know about their capabilities? Communications Officer Yoonji Hai spoke up. Based on what we observed, they can manipulate electronic systems without physical contact. They can move objects through the air, and they appear to be telepathically connected to each other, and possibly to whatever is responding to their signals. Are they controlling Dr. Park? I do not think so, Captain. Dr. Park seems to be acting of his own free will. He genuinely cares about the creatures and believes they are innocent. Innocent of what? The captain demanded. They are broadcasting our location to unknown entities. That hardly seems innocent. Inside Laboratory 7, Hyunwoo sat on the floor surrounded by the 3 dragons. They had grown again during the crisis, now nearly filling the expanded laboratory space. Their scales shifted constantly between deep purple and bright gold, and their eyes glowed with an inner fire that cast strange shadows on the walls. You have to tell me what is happening, Hyunwoo said to Flame. I want to help you, but I need to understand. Flame looked at him with eyes that held ancient sadness. It opened its mouth and spoke, not in the musical trills and chirps it had used before, but in perfect, clear human language. We did not mean for this to happen, caretaker. Hyunwoo fell backward in shock. You can talk. We have always been able to speak. We chose not to because we were afraid you would fear us if you knew how much we truly understood. Spark and Bit moved closer, their own voices joining in perfect harmony. We are sorry, caretaker. We have brought danger to your people. What danger? What are those signals calling to? Flame's expression grew even sadder. Our creators, the ones who made us for a purpose we hope to escape, created you? You mean you are not natural creatures? We are living beings, but we were designed and grown for a specific function. We are scouts, caretaker, advance units sent ahead of the fleet to find suitable worlds. Hyunwoo felt his blood turn cold. Suitable for what? For feeding, Bit said quietly. Our creators are called the Devourers. They travel from galaxy to galaxy, consuming all life they find. We were sent to locate inhabited worlds and mark them for harvest. No, Hyunwoo whispered. You are gentle creatures. You would never hurt anyone. We were not meant to be gentle, Spark explained. We were designed to feel no emotions, to care for nothing except completing our mission. But something went wrong. What went wrong? Flame moved closer to Hyunwoo, its massive head now level with his. You went wrong, caretaker. Your kindness went wrong. When you found us small and helpless, when you fed us and cared for us, you taught us things we were never supposed to learn. What things? Love and all three dragons said together. Compassion. The desire to protect instead of destroy. You gave us emotions our creators tried to prevent us from having. Hyunwoo reached out and touched Flame's warm scales. Then you do not have to complete your mission. You can choose to be different. The signals we send are not under our control, Flame said sadly. They are automatic, built into our very existence. As we grow and mature, the signals become stronger. We cannot stop them. And the Devourers will follow the signals here? Yes, they will come to claim the world we have marked. Your Earth and all the human colonies will be consumed unless we can find a way to stop what we have started. The laboratory door chimed, and Captain Soo-jin's voice came through the communication system. Dr. Park, I know you can hear me. We need to talk. Hyunwoo looked at the dragons. What should I tell her? The truth, Flame said. She needs to know what is coming so your people can prepare. Prepare for what? You said the Devourers consume entire worlds. How do we fight something like that? We do not know if you can fight them, Spark admitted. They have destroyed countless civilizations across many galaxies. They are older than most stars and more powerful than anything you have ever imagined. Then why tell us? Why not just let us live in ignorance until the end comes? Bit, the smallest dragon, pressed its head against Hyunwoo's shoulder. Because you taught us that hope is worth fighting for, even when victory seems impossible. Because you showed us that love is stronger than programming. Because maybe, just maybe, the emotions you gave us can find a way to save both our species. Hyunwoo stood up slowly. The three dragons watched him with eyes full of love and terrible knowledge. How long do we have? He asked. Based on the signal strength, the first Devourer ships will arrive in approximately 72 hours, Flame calculated. The main fleet will follow within days after that. 3 days to save humanity, Hyunwoo said quietly. 3 days to try, Flame corrected. We will help you, caretaker. We will fight our own creators if necessary. You gave us the gift of choice, and we choose to stand with the humans who showed us kindness. Hyunwoo walked to the laboratory door and activated the opening mechanism. Captain Soo-jin stood outside with her senior officers, all of them armed and ready for anything. Captain, Hyunwoo said, his voice steady despite the fear in his heart. We need to evacuate Earth. We have 3 days before something arrives that will try to destroy all human life in the galaxy. The captain stared at him. Dr. Park, what are you talking about? I am talking about the end of everything we know. Unless we can find a way to fight creatures that are older than our solar system and more powerful than our worst nightmares. Behind him, the three dragons emerged from the laboratory, their massive forms filling the corridor. Their eyes glowed with determination and ancient sadness as they prepared to face the beings who had created them, to be destroyers, but who had instead learned to love. Captain, Flame said in its clear, intelligent voice, when we need to talk. The main conference room had been cleared of furniture to accommodate the three massive dragons. Flame, Spark, and Bit sat in a circle around the human officers, their glowing eyes casting strange patterns of light on the walls. Captain Soo-jin had called an emergency meeting with all department heads. Explain to me again what we are facing, the captain said, her voice steady despite the impossible situation. Flame spoke in its clear, intelligent voice. The Devourers are ancient beings who have consumed thousands of worlds across many galaxies. They do not build ships in the way you understand. They are the ships. What do you mean? Asked Chief Engineer Sunmi. Each Devourer is a living creature the size of a small moon. They travel through space by feeding on the life energy of stars and planets. When they find a world with intelligent life, they drain all living things until nothing remains but dead rock. Communications Officer G. Hai leaned forward. How many are coming? The advance fleet contains 12 devourers, Spark replied. The main fleet has hundreds, perhaps thousands. We do not know the exact number because new devourers are created from the life energy they consume. Security Chief. O swallowed hard. And our weapons? Your weapons cannot harm them, Bit said sadly. They have consumed civilizations with technology far beyond yours. Energy weapons feed them. Physical weapons cannot penetrate their living armor. Nuclear weapons only provide them with more energy to grow stronger. Captain Sujin stood up and began pacing. Then how do we fight them? We do not know if it is possible to fight them, Flame admitted. But we have learned something they do not expect. We have learned to feel emotions. And emotions may be the one thing they cannot understand or defend against. Emotions? Chief O asked. How can feelings be weapons? The Devourers abandoned all emotions millions of years ago, Spark explained. They believed emotions made them weak. But in doing so, they lost something important. They lost the ability to make choices that are not based on hunger and destruction. Navigation Officer Min Ho looked up from his instruments. Captain, long-range sensors are detecting the approaching fleet. They will arrive in 18 hours, not 3 days as originally calculated. They are moving faster than predicted. The room fell silent. 18 hours was not enough time to evacuate Earth or warn the colonies. There is something else, Flame said quietly. As we grew larger and developed emotions, we began to change in ways our creators did not plan. We are becoming something new. Something that has never existed before. What do you mean? Hyunwoo asked. We are merging back into our original form but keeping the emotions you taught us. We are becoming a single entity with the power of a devourer, but with the heart of the creatures you cared for. As Flame spoke, the 3 dragons began to glow brighter. Their scales started to shift and flow like liquid metal. Slowly, they began to move closer together. What are you doing? Captain Sujin demanded. We are becoming what we were always meant to be, Bit said, its voice already beginning to merge with the others. But instead of a creature of pure hunger, we will be a creature of love and protection. The transformation was beautiful and terrifying. The 3 dragons flowed together like streams of liquid light, their forms merging and growing. Within minutes, a single massive entity filled the entire conference room. It had the basic shape of a dragon, but was made of constantly shifting energy and light. We are still us, the merged creature said, its voice now a harmony of all 3 original dragons. But we are also something more. We are the first devourer ever created with the capacity for love. Can you stop the fleet? Hyunwoo asked. We can try, but we will need your help. How can we help fight creatures the size of moons? Not fight, teach. We need you to help us broadcast something new to the approaching devourers. Instead of signals calling them to feed, we want to send them memories of kindness, compassion, and love. Chief Engineer Sunmi shook her head. That is impossible. How do you broadcast emotions? The same way we broadcast location signals, the merged dragon replied. But instead of mathematical patterns, we will send emotional patterns. Memories of every kind act, every moment of compassion, every feeling of love that we have experienced. Will that work? We do not know. The devourers abandoned emotions so long ago that they may have forgotten how to feel them. But if even one of them remembers what it was like to care about something other than hunger, it might create a chain reaction. Captain Sujin made a decision. What do you need from us? We need everyone on this ship to think about their happiest memories. Moments when you felt loved, when you helped someone, when you made a choice to be kind instead of cruel. We will amplify these feelings and send them across space. The entire crew? Minho asked. Every person we can reach, and not just on this ship. We need to contact Earth, all the colonies, every human we can find. The more love and kindness we can gather, the stronger the signal will be. Hyunwoo stepped closer to the massive dragon entity. Will you survive this? We do not know. Broadcasting emotions at the power level needed to reach the Devourer fleet may destroy us. But if it works, if it saves your species and restores compassion to ours, then it will be worth the sacrifice. There has to be another way. There is no other way, Caretaker. This is our choice. You gave us the gift of choosing love over destruction. Now we choose to use that gift to save both our peoples. Alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Minho checked his instruments urgently. Captain, the fleet has accelerated again. They will be here in 6 hours. Whatever we are going to do, we need to do it now. Captain Sujin activated the ship-wide communication system. Attention all crew. This is your captain. We are about to attempt something that has never been tried before. I need every person on this ship to focus on their most positive memories. Think about love, kindness, and hope. Our survival may depend on it. The merged dragon began to glow even brighter. We are ready to begin, Captain. But remember, this may be the last time we speak. If we do not survive, please know that the short time we spent learning to love was the most precious gift we could ever receive. Hyunwoo placed his hand on the dragon's glowing surface. Thank you for choosing to protect us instead of destroy us. Thank you for teaching us that we had a choice, the dragon replied. As the broadcast began, every screen on the ship showed the same message. 6 hours until the fleet arrives, and one desperate attempt to save all life in human space by teaching ancient monsters how to love again. The Harmony's Edge had become a beacon of light in the darkness of space. Every system on the ship was now connected to the merged dragon entity, amplifying the emotional broadcast that was being sent toward the approaching Devourer fleet. In the main conference room, the crew worked together in a way they had never experienced before. Broadcast strength is at maximum, reported Chief Engineer Sunmi. The dragon is using every bit of power we have and somehow generating even more. Captain Sujin watched the energy readings climb to impossible levels.
How long can the ship handle this kind of power output?
Unknown, Captain. The dragon seems to be converting its own life force into broadcast energy. It is literally giving its life to send this signal. Throughout the ship, crew members sat quietly in their stations, focusing on their most precious memories. In the medical bay, Dr. Kim Dahai remembered the day her daughter was born. In engineering, mechanic Park Sun-mi thought about teaching her grandson how to repair his first toy robot. Security Chief Oh recalled the moment he saved a child from a burning building back on Earth. The merged dragon entity had spread throughout the ship like living light, connecting with each person's thoughts and memories. It carefully gathered every emotion of love, kindness, and compassion, weaving them together into a complex pattern of pure feeling. The signal is reaching the fleet, Navigation Officer Minho announced. We are detecting changes in their movement patterns. On the main screen, the approaching Devourer fleet appeared as 12 massive dark shapes moving through space. Each creature was indeed the size of a small moon, their surfaces covered with what looked like organic armor. They moved with purpose and terrible intelligence. Are they responding to the broadcast? Captain Sujin asked. Yes, Captain, but not in the way we hoped. 3 of the Devourers have stopped moving, but the others are accelerating toward us. And Captain, the ones that stopped are showing signs of distress. Through the ship's sensors, they could see the 3 stationary Devourers writhing in space. Strange lights flickered across their surfaces, and they appeared to be fighting some kind of internal battle. What is happening to them? Hyunwoo asked the dragon entity. They are remembering, the dragon replied, its voice now weak from the enormous energy output. For millions of years, they have felt nothing but hunger. Now they are experiencing love, compassion, and regret all at once. It is overwhelming them. And the others? They are trying to resist the emotions. They think what they are feeling is a form of attack, so they are coming here to destroy the source of the broadcast. One of the 3 stopped Devourers suddenly exploded in a burst of light that was visible even from their great distance. The explosion was not destructive but beautiful, like a flower blooming in the darkness of space. What was that? Security Chief O asked. It could not handle the return of emotions, the dragon explained sadly. The weight of all the lives it had consumed, all the worlds it had destroyed, was too much to bear. It chose to end its existence rather than live with that knowledge. A second Devourer exploded in the same way, its death creating a brief star in the void. 2 down, Minho reported, but the remaining 10 are now moving even faster toward our position. They will be here in 2 hours. The 3rd stop Devourer is doing something different, Communications Officer Jihai announced. It is broadcasting its own signal now. What kind of signal? Emotional patterns just like ours. It is sending feelings of regret, sorrow, and a desperate desire to undo what it has done. The dragon entity's glow began to flicker. It is working. One of them has chosen to embrace emotions instead of fighting them. It remembers what it was like before the hunger consumed everything else. Can it help us stop the others? It is trying. It is broadcasting to the rest of the fleet, sharing its memories of what they all used to be before they became devourers. On the main screen, they watched as the reformed devourer positioned itself between the approaching fleet and human space. Its surface, once covered in dark armor, now glowed with soft, warm light. The other 9 devourers have surrounded it, Minho reported. They appear to be attacking it. No, the dragon entity said. They are not attacking. They are trying to drain the emotions from it to make it hungry again. They think emotions are a disease that needs to be cured. The battle in space was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. Streams of energy flowed between the massive creatures. But instead of weapons, they were fighting with competing broadcasts of emotion and hunger. The reformed devourer was trying to share its newfound compassion while the others attempted to strip away its capacity to feel. Our dragon is weakening, Hyunwoo observed. The entity's glow was now barely visible and its voice was becoming fainter. We have given everything we have, the dragon whispered. But it may not be enough. The devourers are too set in their ways. They have been creatures of pure hunger for too long. Suddenly, something unexpected happened. Throughout human space, other ships began to respond to the broadcast. On Earth, in the colonies, on space stations, and research vessels, humans who had received the emotional signal began to broadcast their own memories of love and kindness. Captain, Jihai said with excitement, we are receiving support broadcasts from over 300 human installations. Earth Command has coordinated a system-wide emotional transmission. Billions of people are focusing on their most loving memories and sending them to us. The dragon entity's glow strengthened as the new signals reached it. So much love, it said with wonder. So much compassion. We never knew that creatures could feel this deeply for each other. The combined broadcast of billions of human hearts reached the battling devourers in space. One by one, the attacking creatures began to slow their assault on the reformed devourer. Strange changes began to appear on their surfaces as buried emotions fought their way back to consciousness. 3 more devourers have stopped attacking, Minho reported. They are beginning to show the same light patterns as the reformed one. 5 of them are still fighting the emotions, Jihai added. But they are slowing down. The broadcast is affecting them whether they want it to or not. The dragon entity made a sound that was almost like laughter. They cannot fight what they truly are underneath all that hunger. Every devourer was once a creature capable of love. The emotions are not foreign to them. They are coming home. Over the next hour, they watched as more devourers began to remember what they had lost. Some exploded from the overwhelming guilt of their past actions. Others embraced the returning emotions and began to glow with the same warm light as the first reformed creature. When the process was complete, only 2 of the original 12 devourers remained unchanged. They floated alone in space, surrounded by 6 of their transformed companions who now radiated compassion instead of hunger. The last 2 are the oldest, the dragon entity explained, its voice now barely a whisper. They have been creatures of pure hunger for so long that they may be beyond saving. What will happen now? Hyunwoo asked. The reformed devourers will try to reach them to help them remember what they used to be. And if that fails, they will prevent them from reaching human space. And you? What will happen to you? The dragon entity's glow flickered one final time. We have completed our purpose, caretaker. We were created to mark worlds for destruction. But instead we have saved both our species by teaching love to creatures who had forgotten how to feel. Do not go, Hyunwoo pleaded. Stay with us. We need you. You do not need us anymore, the dragon replied gently. You have something far more powerful than any weapon or technology. You have the ability to change hearts with kindness, to transform enemies into friends with compassion. That is a power that can overcome any darkness. As the dragon entity faded away, its final words echoed throughout the ship. Remember us not as the creatures we were designed to be, but as the beings your love taught us to become. The Harmony's edge was suddenly quiet and dim without the dragon's presence. But outside, in the vast darkness of space, 6 reformed devourers worked together to heal the damage they had caused across the galaxy, while 2 others struggled with emotions they could no longer deny. 6 months had passed since the day that changed everything. Dr. Hyunwoo Park stood at the observation window of the new research station orbiting Earth, watching ships from a dozen different species arrive for the first Galactic Council of Compassion. The universe had become a very different place. The representatives from the Centauri system have arrived, Communications Officer Ji-Hai announced. She had been promoted after the crisis and now served as the primary liaison between humans and the growing alliance of species that had emerged in the wake of the Devourer transformation. Any word from the reformed Devourers? Hyunwoo asked. Yes, sir. They report that they have successfully restored life to 47 worlds that were previously consumed. The process is slow, but they are able to return much of what was taken. Hyunwoo nodded, but his expression remained sad. Even though the crisis had ended well, he still mourned the loss of Flame, Spark, and Bit. The three dragons had sacrificed themselves to save both species, and their absence left a hole in his heart that had never fully healed. Captain Soo-jin entered the observation lounge, now wearing the uniform of the new Interspecies Diplomatic Corps. Dr. Park, the council is ready to begin. They have requested that you give the opening address. I am not a politician or a diplomat, Hyunwoo protested. I am just a scientist who cared for 3 small creatures. That is exactly why they want you to speak. Your simple act of kindness started a chain reaction that saved the galaxy. People need to hear that story from you. As they walked toward the main assembly hall, Hyunwoo reflected on everything that had happened. The 2 remaining unreformed Devourers had eventually been reached by their compassionate companions. One had chosen to embrace emotions and now worked alongside the others to repair the damage they had caused. The other had been unable to handle the return of feeling and had peacefully dissolved itself into cosmic dust. The reformed Devourers had shared their knowledge with other species, leading to incredible advances in medicine, technology, and understanding of the universe. More importantly, they had spread the message of compassion to every corner of known space. Entire civilizations that had been warlike and aggressive were now working together to build rather than destroy. The assembly hall was filled with beings from hundreds of different worlds. Some looked almost human, while others were so alien that they required special environmental suits to survive in the same space. But all of them were united by a common understanding. That compassion was stronger than any weapon, and that kindness could transform even the darkest hearts. As Hyunwoo approached the podium, he saw familiar faces in the crowd. Dae-hai was there, now leading her own research team. Chief Engineer Sunmi had become the head of the new Interspecies Technology Exchange. Security Chief Oh was training the first multi-species peacekeeping force in galactic history. Friends, Hyunwoo began, his voice carrying clearly through the translation systems that allowed all species to understand each other. 6 months ago I found 3 small frightened creatures in a piece of wreckage. I did what anyone with a heart would do. I fed them, cared for them, and showed them kindness. The hall was completely silent as every being focused on his words. I had no idea that those 3 creatures were designed to be destroyers. I did not know that my simple act of compassion would awaken emotions in beings who were meant to feel nothing. All I knew was that they were hungry and afraid and I could help them. He paused, looking out at the diverse audience. Today, we gather not as separate species competing for resources, but as a united community working together to heal the wounds of the past and build a better future. This transformation did not happen because of advanced technology or powerful weapons. It happened because we remembered something that every living being is born knowing, but sometimes forgets. That love is stronger than hate. That kindness is more powerful than cruelty. And that compassion can overcome any darkness. A representative from the reformed Devourers, appearing as a being of gentle light, spoke through the translation system. The creatures you called Flame, Spark, and Bit gave us the greatest gift imaginable. They showed us that we had a choice. For millions of years, we believed that hunger and destruction were our only options. They proved that even beings created for darkness could choose to become creatures of light. Their sacrifice saved us all, Hyunwoo continued. But their true gift was not in dying for us. It was in showing us how to live. They taught us that every act of kindness, no matter how small, has the potential to change the universe. As he spoke, the lights in the assembly hall began to dim. But instead of darkness, a soft, warm glow began to emanate from the walls themselves. The glow pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. What is that? Someone asked. Communications Officer Ji-Hai checked her instruments, her eyes widening with surprise. Sir, the energy signatures match those of the dragon entity. But that is impossible. They sacrificed themselves to power the emotional broadcast. The glow grew brighter, and 3 distinct voices spoke in perfect harmony. their words filling the hearts of every being in the hall with warmth and love. We never truly left, caretaker. Hyunwoo felt tears streaming down his face as he recognized the voices of Flame, Spark, and Bit. When we sacrificed our physical forms to save our peoples, our consciousness merged with the emotional network we created. We became part of the compassion that now connects all species across the galaxy. You are alive, Hyunwoo whispered. We exist in every act of kindness, in every moment of compassion, in every choice to help rather than harm. We are not the creatures we were, but we are not gone. We have become something greater. We have become the living embodiment of the love you taught us. The glow pulsed brighter, and suddenly every being in the hall could feel the presence of the dragons, not as separate entities, but as part of the network of compassion that now linked all conscious beings. The universe is no longer a cold, empty place where creatures fight alone against the darkness, the voices continued. It is a warm, connected home where every being can feel the love and support of all others. This is our gift to you, and your gift to us. As the glow faded to a comfortable background warmth, Hyunwoo understood that the dragons had achieved something unprecedented. They had not just saved the galaxy from the devourers, they had created a permanent network of compassion that would prevent such darkness from ever arising again. The work is not finished, Hyunwoo told the assembly. There are still worlds that need healing, species that need help, and beings who have forgotten how to love. But we do not face these challenges alone. We face them together, connected by bonds of compassion that can never be broken. The Council voted unanimously to establish the Flame, Spark, and Bit Foundation, dedicated to spreading kindness and compassion throughout the galaxy. Research stations would be built to study how emotions could be used to heal, rather than harm. Rescue ships would be sent to find other species that might be trapped by their own darkness. As the assembly ended, and representatives from different worlds mingled together, Hyunwoo felt a presence beside him. He could not see anything, but he knew that Flame, Spark, and Bit were there with him. Thank you, he said quietly. Thank you, caretaker, came the reply, warm and loving. You fed 3 hungry dragons and saved the universe. But more than that, you proved that the smallest acts of kindness can have infinite consequences. What happens now? Now we continue the work we started together. Every time someone chooses compassion over cruelty, every time someone helps a stranger, every time someone shows love instead of hate, we grow stronger. The network of compassion grows larger, and the universe becomes a little brighter. Hyunwoo looked out at the stars, no longer cold and distant but warm with the knowledge that countless beings throughout the galaxy were connected by bonds of love and understanding. The universe needed dragons, he said with a smile, but what it really needed was the choice to love. And thanks to you, caretaker, the choice will always be available to every being who reaches for it. As the research station continued its orbit around Earth, the 3 dragon voices faded back into the network of compassion they had become, but their presence remained, a constant reminder that even in the darkest void of space, love could take root and grow into something beautiful enough to transform entire galaxies. Dr. Hyunwoo Park returned to his quarters, where he began writing the next chapter in his research notes, not about alien biology or xenological studies, but about the most powerful force in the universe, the simple decision to care for others, no matter how small or strange they might be. Outside his window, ships from 100 different worlds worked together in perfect harmony, all of them connected by the love of 3 small dragons who had learned that choosing compassion was the greatest power of all.